Hello, welcome to Digital Storytelling at Seton Hill University. I'm Dennis Jers, and I'm happy to be teaching you about both traditional storytelling and ways that traditional storytelling changes when we have access to computer design tools that allow us to do some things that you just can't do with traditional storytelling. If you have never programmed a computer before, don't worry. This course is designed to teach you everything that you need to know. If you have already programmed, great. There's still plenty for you to learn in this class. This class is listed in the catalog as a Creative Writing English course. So we will be focusing on some of the conventions that literary storytellers have used in order to tell traditional stories. We'll also look at that digital component of digital storytelling, and for us that means the kind of data that can be processed and stored and shared with a computer. You do not have to be sitting at your computer at any particular time during the day. However, this class is not like a correspondence course where you get to work on modules whenever you feel like it. There will be regular deadlines at noon on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The first deadline will be Wednesday at noon. And if that date and time is not convenient for you, you're welcome to, work ahead. You should be able to work ahead and give yourself breaks if you want to. The way to get a break in the class is to do the work ahead of time, and you'll always be able to work at least a couple days ahead. And that way you can kind of space things out if you have need of taking a break from the regular routine of the week. But the regular due dates are there because a discussion is such an important part of any English class, particular literature classes and writing classes, that I want to make sure that we are all talking about the same topics at the same time. So that's why those regular deadlines are there. Now, sometimes in Canvas, which is where most of the work that we'll be doing is going to be done, actually, that's where it will all be submitted, and that's where you'll get grades and so forth. Sometimes in Canvas, you will see due dates at 12 noon, 12:01, 12:02. That's simply my way of making sure that Canvas delivers those assignments in the order that I want you to do them. It doesn't mean that I want you to finish a particular assignment at 12:01 and then start the assignment that's due at 12:02. They'll take more than a minute to do. But those sort of rolling deadlines are simply there so that I can make sure that Canvas will deliver you those assignments in the order that I want you to complete them. But in general, all the deadlines are at noon each day, unless otherwise noted. Now, I've created a separate assignment that specifically covers issues related to learning in an online class. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about that. I'm just going to refer you to that unit. But I do want to emphasize, again, the value of participating in the online discussions. That's a really important part of the course. Okay, back to that word digital. The word digit means a finger or a toe. It's the way that our ancestors used to count. Nowadays, we have a lot more things to count, and we have a lot more ways to measure and store and share and process the information that we collect about the things that are important to us. Now, Miller's textbook, Digital Storytelling, offers an excellent introduction to the history and significance of traditional storytelling, as well as ways that computers empower us to tell different kinds of stories that would be impossible otherwise. So I'm going to refer you to the opening chapters of the book Digital Storytelling, and there are separate Canvas activities on that. But back now for a few minutes to that word storytelling. We'll start the course by looking at some traditional works of literature, just some short stories, and then we'll explore branching tree fiction. That is, a work of fiction in which the reader gets to choose a path. And you can think of it as a story with multiple endings, but that's only one way that you could present a story with different paths. Now, a traditional story is linear. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the writer and the reader pretty much agree that you start on page 1 and you move sequentially one page at a time. But for a branching story, a story that has paths, you and I can read the same story, but we'll probably take different paths through the same story, so our experience of that text is likely to be different. The author of a hypertext story has written multiple separate chunks of text, and those chunks are encountered by the reader in part as a result of choices that the reader makes. So the reader has some agency in making a hypertext document proceed, and we'll talk about that kind of agency. You may remember those old choose-your-own adventure books where it says, if you enter the cave, turn to page 3. If you go back to camp, turn to page 7. Those are the kinds of things that we'll be talking about, but there are many other ways that a text can be interactive and ways that a story can be digital. Now, one of the tools that we will look at in this class in detail is called Twine, and I'm going to introduce that to you. Okay, so Twine is a tool for telling branching stories. And let's run this story. I'm going to hit play. We get hypertext, hyperlinks, and you can make this story. This isn't really a story. This is a tutorial. But if this were a story, you could process or progress through it according to what you want to do based on the choices that the author gives you. And this tool is very, very simple. It's typing here. This slide just pretty much shows some formatting techniques, but here is an example of how you create links. It's very simple. If you've ever edited Wikipedia, you might recognize this, but all I did was I typed square brackets around the word hypertext, and it then links to this node of text, this chunk of text with the label hypertext. It's actually quite simple. So that's a really quick whirlwind introduction to how to make hypertext using Twine. For stories that involve graphics, the tool that I want to introduce you to is called Scratch. And here we have an example of a very simple Scratch game. So we'll make this full size, and we'll run it, and empty. I've got to get out of here and get some caffeine. It's locked. Where could my key have gone? And I might search in the chair. I lift up the cushions, but it's too dark to see what's under there. Turn on the light switch. That's where my key was. Key appears. If you've played the Escape the Room genre of simple online internet games, you'll be very familiar with this. Anyway, this is an example of a Scratch game, and I'll just show you. This is an example of what the code looks like. The code, it looks almost like Lego blocks, and this tool called Scratch, it's free. Twine also is free. Scratch was created by MIT in order to introduce programming concepts to elementary school kids. And I've taught this programming environment to my daughter when she was 11. She had a lot of fun making games with it. I think Scratch is something that gets you started very easily, but it's also, you can plateau at a certain point. This programming environment is kind of limited, but it's a really good way to explore and prototype and get a feel for how to make interactive stories. This environment also allows you to add sounds and navigation and a lot of interesting things. So I've got some tutorials for Twine I can show you, some tutorials for Scratch that I can show you, and I think that you'll find this very, very interesting. And now a third tool that I want us to explore is called Inform 7. Inform 7 is also free. It's a kind of game that asks you to type commands that the game will try to interpret and respond. This kind of game has been around for about 40 years, and here's some examples. I can type go south, and that takes you to a clearing. The valley yawns all the way up to the rising sun. The path ambles in from the north, wandering in no particular rush southeast toward the work camp. Your shack lies to the west. Your hammer stands where you left it, its scorched handle resting against the doorway. Take hammer. Okay, now I type inventory, and I can see that I'm carrying a hammer. This kind of story assumes that you know to do things like type go south, that you know how to type the command take, that you know how to type the command inventory. And when we get to this kind of game, I'll walk you through a tutorial of exactly how you're supposed to play this kind of game so that when we experience the Inform 7 programming environment, you'll know what you can expect your player to do. It's not supposed to be a guessing game. You, the programmer, are supposed to be able to predict what the player will try to do and make the game progress sensibly. It's tricky to do that, and this is one reason why we're saving Inform 7 for the third of the three tools, because there are a lot of fiddly details that we have to get to in order to make a successful Inform 7 interactive fiction project. Okay, let's take a look now back at the syllabus. Here we are in the syllabus, and this is the sort of default syllabus that Canvas provides. Right now, as I'm recording this video, I have the Wednesday and Friday assignments fleshed out, and I kind of took a break in order to record this video. When I finish the video, I'll continue fleshing the course out, but I do have the last couple of weeks of the course all timed out with your final assignments. The syllabus that has all my policies, let's take a look at this link here. It's a Google document, and you can see my contact information. Here are my course policies. What's the attendance deadline policy? We don't really have attendance in this class, but you attend the class by submitting work according to deadlines. What if you have to make up an assignment? What if you know you're going to miss something? And where to go for technology assistance, and here are the university policies, including the university's academic integrity policy. I call your attention to all these things because they are an important part of the contract that you and I enter into when we start working together in this course. I'm not going to go into great detail about all my policies, but I do want to let you know here is where you can find answers to some very necessary and important questions that I think you might very reasonably have about this class. Another document to take a look at. Here we have the Digital Storytelling General Plan. And here we can see Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4. Unit 1 is mostly traditional stories. We're also exploring some digital stories. Then we're going to learn how to use 3 different tools for creating digital stories. We'll continue to sample digital stories along the way. Then you will plan, create, and revise your own digital story, and then in the last week we'll polish and present that final digital story. My grades have to be submitted to the university August 2nd. So that's the deadline that I'm facing to get your final grade to the university. So here are just some questions about what might you create in a digital storytelling course. And I'm going to let you take a look at this stuff. And here's also some more summaries about what you can expect in the upcoming units. The syllabus mentions the textbook Digital Storytelling by Miller, and I've got it here on my iPad, my Kindle app. Okay, so it's available for immediate download. It's an important text that we'll be referring to all during the course. The syllabus also mentions 2 inexpensive computer games. They're apps available for your iPad or any other iOS device, and there are other. The syllabus also mentions there are some alternative ways that you can experience these digital stories as well. But I'll let you take a look at that in the syllabus, and Canvas will list the day that I am asking you to explore those particular digital stories. There'll be other digital stories that are free and online, but a couple of them are only available through purchase, and I thought I wanted to support those digital artists and give you a chance to take a look at some influential and noteworthy digital storytelling experiments. So I am wrapping up now. I am looking forward to getting to know you through Canvas and getting to know your work and hearing the great ideas that you'll have when you read the reflections that Miller presents in her digital storytelling textbook, when you engage with your classmates, when you propose your ideas for digital stories, and when you implement them and try them out and revise them and figure out how these tools that you're learning will help you tell some stories in ways that would not be possible in a traditional storytelling environment. So, welcome again to Digital Storytelling. I'm looking forward to hearing your response. The Canvas activity that's due on Wednesday at noon has some prompts that ask you to respond to this video and some other information as well. And so with that, I'll close this video, and I'm looking forward to reading your responses.